bringing talent to the greatest industry in the world. You know what makes this, to me, the greatest industry in the world? Because you have every single issue of every other industry in the world, plus the weather. This is the most intellectually challenging industry in the world, and this is a noble industry. How could it possibly be better? Present company accepted. Where have the best and the brightest been going over the years? Google, okay. Okay, so in the noughties, the 2000s, it was the internet era, and the talent was going there. And in the, then some were going to Wall Street. All right, and in the 60s, it was plastics. In the 50s, it was chemistry. In the 70s, I was there in the 70s. I don't remember. It was computers, actually. So how do we make the teens the decade of food and agribusiness? That's what we're talking about. I'm Greg Dirksen. I'm with Concurrent and Reed. We do executive search globally in food and agribusiness. So we think about talent all the time. And when chatting with our esteemed panel here, Lauren Herringa from Land O'Lakes and Daniel Loria from Syngenta and Stacy Puniatu from Coca-Cola, we were trying to think, well, how do we talk about today's marketplace? And we're going to be dating ourselves now, but what we noted was that, what came to mind was, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. How many of you remember that tagline, that advertising tagline? This is not your father. You've just dated yourself. That was 25 years ago, 1988. And it's actually a very apropos phrase for today, because 1988, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. That led to a huge spike in sales of the Oldsmobile Cutlass. In 1988 and 1989, the Oldsmobile Cutlass was the #1 selling automobile in the United States. Today, the brand does not exist, let alone the Oldsmobile Cutlass. And so, this is not your father's marketplace. The product, the talent product, is different today. The marketplace for that talent is different today. We see that it's a new standard to be successful. That's a whole other discussion. But what it took to be successful just 5 years ago isn't good enough today. For the people in this room, you are competing with the rest of the world, not just the people in farming and agricultural and food background. You as students are not competing with just the people in the food and ag colleges. You're competing with everybody else. And you are not competing with early career or mid-career talent in your state, your region, in your country. It is global. For our business, for example, particularly when we have senior technical search, if we have 5 finalists, they will be from at least 4 continents. And I guarantee you that most of those candidates will not be living in the continent in which they were born. We're looking at accelerating technology leverage. So we have a small company, it is a global company, and we operate the company with 1 office with people in 30 cities. Our only real estate is $700 a month in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and it's a room, 2 rooms about the size of half of this room, and it has 2 administrators and 2 dogs. You stay. It used to have 2 servers, but we moved those in the cloud, so the balance is up. If we add a 3rd person, we're going to need to get another dog. So we keep the balance going. And the new migrant labor is emerging. You know what? When we talked about migrant labor just 10 years ago, or when they're talking about migrant labor now in these interminable immigration discussions here in the U.S., they're thinking about low-skilled people to go to the fields to do what machines can't do. No, no, no. The new migrant labor is highly skilled people going to the machines to run the machines to do things that people can't do. With this as a backdrop, I'd like to call the first of our panelists here, Lauren Herringa, speaking of technology management. And I asked each of these panelists, they're going to give their own introduction, but we sort of like to go a little bit beyond it. And we asked, well, could you tell us something that no one would ever know about you? Lauren delivered his 4th child, his daughter, on the floor of the kitchen of their house.
Yeah, so I got that going for me. Actually, my wife has precipitous labors, and each one was getting shorter and shorter from the time her water broke until we delivered. It was 12 minutes. So take that. Those of you who have been suffering, I see a few people who suffered maybe a little longer than 12 minutes. But anyway, you know, I'm a farm boy. I grew up on a dairy farm. I delivered a lot of calves, breech birds, etc. So no problem. Delighted to be here. Greg, thank you. Greg's been a good search partner for us. They really know this food and ag space, and when we have tough jobs in the ag area particularly, we're delighted to have Greg work with us. And I'm happy to be on the stage here with a couple of great companies. Syngenta, a worldwide company. We actually, I think, are one of your largest customers in the U.S. And obviously Coke, a strong CPG company, one that we admire, a branded company. We're a branded company, so delighted to be able to have an opportunity to do this. So what I want to do is just tell you briefly about Land O'Lakes, put in context the business, and then talk about talent. And my bias in talent, first of all, full disclosure, I'm an industrial organizational psychologist, so I'm very much into statistics, measurement, differential psychology, human learning. Additionally, I spent a lot of my career with Honeywell International. Honeywell International is run by GE Management. You're probably aware of people like Larry Bossidy and others. And so I was schooled in the GE HR approach to talent, very business-minded. And I think now with the new technology that's come in place, I certainly have a bias toward how do you elevate this isn't your father's Oldsmobile, the practice of human capital management, and bring that into, you know, the current environment where, you know, you think about accounting, finance 50 years ago wasn't very sophisticated, and HR has been in that world, but we're now elevating ourselves moving forward with human capital management and become much more analytical and look at ROI type driven approaches. So I do have these readers, hopefully I can. Land O'Lakes, you know, what's the popular view of our company? The dairy company, right? And that's what most people have known us. And in fact, that is our heritage. Back in the 1920s, a group of cooperatives in the Midwest who had a high quality product, sweet cream butter. Prior to that, butter was sour. And they were trying to figure out how to get that to the markets in the East Coast. And unfortunately, weren't deriving all the value out of that value chain that was going out to the consumer. So they banded together, formed a cooperative. After a number of years, the producers said, can you help us aggregate our input? Help us with our animal productivity, our feed, our crop inputs, our growing productivity. And so out of this company that was originally a dairy company, came a company that's now Fortune 194, 14 billion top line. I think end of this year we hope to be 15, 16 billion. Second largest cooperative. And in reality, 2/3 of our portfolio is now ag. So while we're probably known a little bit more on our brand, Indian Maiden as a dairy company, we have a couple of other parts to our company. But this member-owned is an interesting part. we are owned, as you can see, as a private company by the members who derive the benefits of what we do, and that's obviously to both sustain, grow the enterprise, but also give them value in a market for their outputs. So a little bit that is unique of us is we do feel like we've got a keen view on the marketplace all the way from the farm, because we've got 300,000 producers, through the value chain of what's the input, the retailer who sells to that local grower or livestock producer or animal, on through the value chain to how do you take primary manufacturing, turn that into a value-added product, and use the advantage of driving innovation into the marketplace. So we do compete as a marketplace-backed, value-added, branded company, driving innovation into the marketplace through insights. And so that transformation has created some interesting challenges for us as a food and ag company, in that we're no longer a commodity-driven type ag company, but we're driving solutions where we use technology. And particularly now things like, how do you provide products that offer convenience, that offer health, that offer solutions, in the case of our Winfield solutions, productivity solutions, and in the past where we sold seed, maybe crop protection, now it's selling solution tools for 10,000 acre farmers who have an MBA, and they're looking at how do I increase the productivity of my operation with the right traits, in the right soil, with the right density, with the right crop protection. And it becomes now a solutions-oriented company. And so similarly, we have in our livestock business the largest animal research farm. It's in St. Louis. And we particularly have a strong knowledge of young animal nutrition and what makes better animals. How's the company done? Well, we've done nicely. We've focused on fewer, bigger businesses. Focus on our branded business, where we really derive the most value from the marketplace. And top line has grown nicely. We've doubled the company in the last 5-6 years, improved our profitability nicely. We're on a good trajectory. So, why not rest on your laurels? Well, not good enough. This ag business, we've all heard the stories. It's exploding. And we're in the middle of that, and there's a lot of people who are beginning to notice it. So we've been very successful as a U.S. domestic producer. We've owned that value chain through our local retailers, those cooperatives that act as our way to go to market. But the world, Africa, Asia, rise of the middle class, all the things that we've heard. So we said, if we're not growing, we're going to fall behind. So we had a management team, a group down in Scottsdale, Arizona, top 200 people in the company. About 3 years ago, we said, we've done nicely, but we've got to do it again. We've got to double this company. We want to be $30 billion in 5 years and highly profitable, 3x the profit rate. And how are we going to do that? And there was a lot of looks and, well, could we get to capitalize that growth? Well, probably. We can figure out creative ways to get capital. Can we govern a company that's that big? Probably. We'll have to do it a little different. We might have to invent more ventures, etc. The biggest challenge that we had, and kind of the oops moment for a lot of our senior team, was can we find the talent to do a company that size? That's much more technology-driven, much more global, that's driving branded to everything that we do, and operating in a very volatile marketplace. So we feel we're well positioned. We've had these 4 strategic imperatives. You can see them there: best talent, growth, obviously, from what I just said, but that growth, best customer and member relations, given we are member-owned, and this total margin management, which has become our kind of operational improvement focus within the company. So I put up this model. It's a model that you can see a lot of them out there. McKinsey's, this happens to be the Institute for Corporate Productivity. There's a number that Corporate Executive Board, they all have models of what does it take to be a high-performance company. And it all starts on the right-hand side with growth. You got to have a focus on growth. You've got to be profitable. How do you get that? It comes through an incessant focus on the market. That next arrow at the top. Satisfied customers, loyal customers, delighted customers. How do you get that? Well, you also have in parallel, you've got strategy, but a lot of companies have good strategy. It's strategy and the ability to execute that strategy, which for us is this internal improvement orientation. So how do you get that customer focus, that execution? For us, it comes through engaged employees. Employees who understand those priorities, they're aligned around those priorities, they're focused on the right things, and engaged employees require us to manage talent and have strong leadership disciplines as a company. So this has served us well. That heart that I've got kind of is the three areas. It's the culture, it's the leadership programs in the company, it's our talent management. They really do enable the other three, which get you to high performance. So, I want to talk just about the three boxes. And the first is manage talent. So we had this come to Jesus feeling of what got us here isn't going to get us there. It's different things. It's different talent. It's different leadership. It's different strategies. And so the first thing that I did with kind of my boss has been chomping at the bit was we hired an outside-in firm. We said, if you look at us and benchmark us against all the top companies out there, how do we measure up on talent, on structure, on the capabilities of our company? And Deloitte, who's been a partner for us for many years, did this outside in, looked at 275 strong companies, came back, gave us 191 recommendations. Now, you're the HR person, you get 191 recommendations. It's a little bit daunting. How do I get the senior team to sign off? But we kind of bit it off into some key chunks, and one of those was we needed to have a stronger talent and performance focus. We've been a little bit of too much of a sleepy company, successful, but a little too sleepy. So it's ramping up this performance focus in the company. And it was interesting that in our surveys, we had about a third of our people said poor performance is tolerated here. And for me, with that sort of GE edge, that was unacceptable. So our employees were telling us as management, we didn't have strong enough performance focus as a company. So again, what got us here and going to get us there, we had to step up our game. We also looked at our structure as a company. When you're 30 billion, you can't structure how you can when you're 6. Spans and layers, efficiency, SG&A, growth. We've got to look at, how do you create the right efficient structures, spans, layers. Are you creating bigger jobs for talent to grow into? And do that consciously. And then this focus on the low performer part. Now these are good people. They've given their heart and soul, but some of these people may not be able to make the ride to the future. Now we'll help them. Some of them may not make it. So it's the only way we're going to free up the capacity to bring in stronger talent is we've got to be able to move aside some of the talent that isn't fitting for the future. So tough thing, do it the Land O'Lakes way, caring, passionate, help people with transition, plenty of notice. But we have sizably started down that path. We were underinvested in talent. I've increased our college relations and recruiting group by 5-fold in order to take on this talent acquisition challenge that we have. The last 3 positions that I've added to the structure in HR was a director of talent management, a director of workforce planning and HR analytics, and a director of HR technology solutions. And those are intentional. They complement the business-driven HR people that we have and the functional experts that I have in the HR areas. Kind of operate, I say, in the white space that really wasn't covered sufficiently. Additionally, this whole area of, we're in a 3-step model. We're a wholesaler who have about 1,000 retailers going to market. Those of us in the wholesale business, it can be a threatening time. You've got to be strong as a wholesaler. Your retailers have got to be strong. That system's got to be strong. There's a lot of people with a lot of deep pockets of capital from Wall Street and global investors and other firms that are coming out to the country, driving around in big limousines and looking at all the money these farmers make and saying, this might be an interesting place to invest. So we've got to make sure we are absolutely strong. And part of that meant we have to go to those 1,000 retailers, make sure they've got the talent programs. Now they're getting bigger. Example, some of the co-ops who own us are billion-dollar co-ops. Like the latest, was $1.7 billion. So these are very large retailers, and we need them to be successful, win with the winners. And so we've started providing, not only do I do talent within our company, but now I do talent for those cooperatives who are owners and helping them. Invested in human capital decisions, I mentioned that kind of on the front end, getting some technology solutions, rounding out the suite. We've added success factors, we've added business intelligence, we're adding analytical capability, and really getting ROI and analytical focus to the decisions that we're making. 2 words about this box on employee engagement. We didn't know what it was. And so we did the first ever company-wide survey. It was 2 years ago. And we now have a measure of engagement. Now, engagement's different than satisfaction. Employee satisfaction is what am I getting from my company? Do I like my pay, my benefits, my boss, blah, blah, blah. Engagement, what am I giving? What's my discretionary effort? Am I aligned around the company's vision? Do I feel compelled to take action on things that I see need to be taken action? So we got this engagement survey in place. We're doing our 3rd administration, and it's giving us some great data to understand where we have issues. And we're focusing now on continuous improvement in some of those bottom areas. The other part of this employee engagement is we've got such a strong story to tell in ag. And it's a story we got to make sure our internal employees understand. It's a sexy place to be. It used to be high-tech was sexy. Ag is sexy, so it's telling that story and telling that story externally, because there's not enough kids going into ag. And we need agronomists. We need agronomists who are really high-tech. They know how to take satellite data that can map the biodensity of down to an acre, come in and show that satellite data to that grower and say, we've got multiple years and it looks like the density of this particular field that you've got is starting to diminish. You might need to do some plant testing. You might have some micronutrient issues. And it's that type of world we're in now in agriculture. Around leadership, this is getting accountabilities in place. We've done that. Additionally, we moved to an operating company with strong central functions. We believe in order to compete, we had to have the strongest marketing capability that's out there, strongest supply chain, strongest IT capability, a centralized focus on talent. Additionally, we've been largely U.S. focused and very successful because we've owned that cooperative system like in the heartland of the country and other places. But now going global is a little scary. And we've been out there, we've learned some things. Learn some things is code word for not make money. But we say it. We do have this international development division for 30 years. Our members 30 years ago said, we believe that U.S. agriculture has some things to help the rest of the world. So 30 years ago, we started, put together this nonprofit arm of our company called International Development Division. Since that time, we've done 270 dairy and ag projects around the world, primarily in Africa and Asia, in over 70 countries. And we've been on the front end of that value chain. And now if you hear about the Gates Foundation and all the partnerships that are beginning to come together, our goal now is to leverage that understanding of the full value chain. And how do we continue, continue the development, but how do you look at the commercial opportunity? And Africa is a tremendous opportunity. We heard that last night. Asia's been a tremendous opportunity. So how do we capitalize on our capabilities, knowledge, to leverage that commercial business? Finally, this baby boomer retirement is happening to many of us. It's happening to certainly us. And it's requiring that we get more sophisticated on thinking strategically about our workforce plans. And so we've implemented workforce planning in parts of our business. We're now taking it company-wide. It's doing things like looking based on your strategies. How do you segment your talent pools? What are really pivotal talent pools? What are hard to attract talent pools? Look at talent pools, jobs, in terms of of how difficult are they to acquire in the marketplace and how critical are they to your business. And when you start seeing that upper right quadrant, that's the scary ones. And we've got things like master agronomy advisors who are really sophisticated technology people who know agronomy, talking to that 10,000 acre MBA about how he can increase the ROI on his $100 million investment. Those are sophisticated conversations, sophisticated people. So make, buy, how do you get them? Do the supply demand. You know, supply chain for many years taught us supply chain management is science. Same thing with talent. So there's tools we're using, demand, supply, where are we going to be short? Then it's make, buy, you develop them, which we are, rotating them really quickly early in their career, hire a ton of interns out of all the ag schools we can, give more money to ag schools, go find them in places that we didn't think, you know, maybe the rest of the ag industry isn't looking. There's a lot of women, there's a lot of diverse talent that we can attract into ag. And then in some cases, we're concluding we might have to borrow them. You know, we can't make them, you can't buy them, we're going to have to borrow them. So do we get contingent workers? Do we buy companies that have those capabilities? So to wrap up, you know, I think it's an exciting time. We have a strong growth focus. It requires that strong talent focus. Building blocks are in place. We got to execute.
All right. Thank you very much, Lauren. Next up is Daniel Loria. The thing that he said we probably wouldn't guess about him is that he very nearly was a professional tennis player. So while Daniel is giving his own little intro, I'm going to pull up his slides and get it going here. Go ahead.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us today. As Greg said, my career plan 30 years ago didn't contemplate me being here today. I was hoping that I would be enjoying the fruits of my labor after competing for maybe 15 or 20 years on the tennis courts, and then I would probably retire in Monte Carlo or some other nice place. However, I am truly very proud of being here today. I am originally from Mexico, so excuse my accent, but I am proud to say that I have built over the years a global career in human resources. I am relatively a newcomer to the agribusiness sector. My past includes work with Novartis Pharmaceuticals, with Kellogg Company, Tony the Tiger, a good friend, and with Citibank. I also spent 8 years in academia. It's interesting because I was actually hired to become a professor after my graduation day, which was kind of a scary experience because I went to the other side of the classroom just 2 or 3 weeks after I graduated. A lot of interesting things have happened since those days, and I guess the advice I share with my kids, the advice I share with the students that I meet every day as part of my job is, if you want to build a global career, step out of your comfort zone every day, because that is the meaning of growth. And it is not easy, it is not simple, but it has worked for me, and I'm very thankful for this moment as well. I'm going to follow a very similar order as Lauren did. I would like to share some information about Syngenta. We're definitely now not as well known as Coke is or Land O'Lakes is, but we have a good story to tell. And hopefully you will share the excitement that we have and that we bring to work every day in being part of this industry. The first slide, this content is probably very, very familiar to all of you. We are well aware of the challenge of the 9 billion people who will be populating this world by 2050. What is really, really scary, in my opinion, is how the population is growing in only 100 years. When you look at 1950 compared to 2050, we are multiplying the world's population several times. Of course, this brings a set of challenges as well as opportunities, and particularly considering that we will be doing this with at least the same amount of land or less. As new cities are built, as new commercial centers are constructed, there is less and less land available for agriculture. And the other key item that we are well aware of is water. Water has become a precious element, it is scarce, and we are actually working on technologies to maximize the use of water. So in this context, that's where Syngenta becomes very relevant in agribusiness. Let me share a little bit of a story about Syngenta as a company. As a company, we were created a little over 10 years ago as a result of the merger of the AstraZeneca and the Novartis agribusinesses. Although our roots go back hundreds of years back in history, up to the 1800s, when some of our founding members of the legacy companies were already in agriculture selling seeds. Syngenta has almost 30,000 employees working in 90 countries in the world, and is headquartered in Switzerland. Just as a side comment, in Basel, Switzerland, for those of you tennis fans, that's where Roger Federer is from. So it was an incentive for me, the company, by the way. Our two main sites, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Minnetonka in Minnesota. And our total sales last year were just about $14 billion. And that I think it is very relevant to mention that we spend well over $1 billion every year in research and development. We are part of a very complex industry, and I'm speaking to the experts. As I said, I'm relatively new to this industry, but we understand the complexity and the factors that affect the farmer and the production in agriculture. We believe that we offer probably the broadest and one of the best portfolios in the industry by working with seeds and traits, seed care, crop protection, and lawn and garden. How do we try to achieve our mission? Basically, we have three pillars, but at the very center of our attention is the grower, is the farmer. We remind every single day, if you came to Syngenta at any point in time, you would most likely hear one sentence, and that would be, think like a grower. We remind our employees to think like a grower every single day. We try to help them understand the link between what they do and what the farmer eventually does. And that's at the core of our work every day. Integration is an important element in our story. Up until a couple of years ago, we were managing our crop protection and our seeds businesses pretty much as two different companies. And this is pretty similar to what some of our competitors still do. We realized along the way that that's not what the farmer wanted. We had actually two different marketing teams. We had two different sales forces, two different strategies. So we decided to integrate our company, and by doing so, integrate our value offer to the grower, so we can come with integrated solutions. And that's the journey we have had for the last couple of years. We've been cross-training people who were experts in crop protection, so we would become experts in seeds, and the other way around as well. And we are very confident and very satisfied so far with the feedback we are receiving from our clients. Innovation is another important component. It's not only innovation in terms of the technology, of the research and development investment that we make every day. Innovation has to do with how do we build relationships with the farmer? How do we communicate with the farmer? How do we build strategic partnerships with academia and some other important partners in our journey? And of course, we are a performance-driven company. We want to believe and we want to make sure that the farmer will be more successful with us and our offers, and that we will be outperforming our competitors in the industry. I like this slide very much because it states the purpose. Some people underestimate how important these purpose statements are. Our purpose as a company is bringing plant potential to life. And just try to see, how much meaning there is behind this statement. We believe that we can make a difference, and we believe that we can make a strong contribution to providing enough supply for this population growth. It is not only the what. Of course, the what is very simple, and again, you are the experts in this industry. The what is improved farm productivity. It's all about yield. It's all about doing more with less, and we are very conscious of that. But we are also concerned about the how we do that. We want to make sure that we do that in a sustainable way, and that we can build rural prosperity. If our farmers are successful, we all win in this game. This is my very favorite slide, and I could spend hours talking about this, because this is the message I want to convey to every one of our employees as they get up in the morning. Your work matters. You are making a difference. You're enabling us to be able to provide technologies and solutions so we can supply enough food for the world. And I'm hoping that every one of our employees will remember this phrase, because we remind them of it, and we make it a point for them to appreciate how impactful their work is on a day-to-day basis. Very good. So that's a little bit of an overview on Syngenta. Let's talk a little about talent attraction. And the next few slides are a little bit of a recollection in recent history about talent attraction practices. I'm going to start with Recruitment 1.0, and some of you might remember what that meant. Not many years ago, actually, we were all relying on the local newspaper to advertise jobs and to announce our positions. It was a very predictable process. We had a position that we couldn't fill internally. We would go to the local paper, we would buy some space, the candidates would buy the paper, they would establish contact with us, and there was a long journey before we could fill a position. Well, soon after, the internet came, and our lives were transformed in so many ways, and it hit HR as well. We saw some of the job boards, the job posting sites, and with Monster, Career Builder, and some others, companies were able to reach numbers of candidates that we never dreamed about before. Candidates were able to access opportunities in different companies, in different functions, in different locations. It was just a game changer in so many ways. We are now experiencing Recruitment 3.0, which is social media, which is quite a revolution, and I don't need to tell you about, because you go through this experience every day, either as a candidate or as a company who's looking for talent. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, it's an everyday language, and it is influencing the way we strategize about identifying talent in the market and about selecting talent as well. But this is still evolving, and we are right now seeing Recruitment 4.0. This is evolving into even a more sophisticated and complex combination of factors. This slide is, by design, extremely busy, because that's exactly the message we want to convey. It is just a combination of all these technologies that is enabling companies and candidates to build a stronger and a quicker connection. Mobility is the name of the game. That is not a secret for you. I'm sure every one of you, as well as I am, the first thing you look at normally when you open your eyes in the morning, you check your inbox and see what is happening in the rest of the world. And then you do that just about every hour, if not more often, until you're ready to go to bed. Before you turn off the lights, you check your inbox again. And that's just the way it works. And we are conscious that it's not only the device that is traveling with us everywhere, it's also the applications that are being developed today that are enabling us to build that connectivity with the potential talent we want to attract. Another interesting part of the story, of course, is the new generation. Some people call them the millennials. And how do you address the needs of a new generation of professionals who believe in mobility, who have a different perception of career development, career growth, risk-taking. So it's really a very exciting world to be part of HR. We believe in a strong connection with academia. We truly understand that that is the best way for us to build the future leaders in this industry and in our company. How do we do that? We have outreach programs. We have business teams who visit the best universities in our country on a regular basis. We interview in universities often. Some of our scientists and our executives oftentimes are invited to come and teach or co-lead sessions in classrooms all over the country. And this is just a very strong bond. We also believe in the power of building strong relationships with the student organizations. We have a fabulous partnership with FFA, which I saw represented in this conference. So that's a very strategic piece. In terms of internships, that's a welcoming approach for those students who are eager to come and learn about our industry. We're very flexible and try to be very creative. We do have the vanilla internship, yes we do, because they do work, which is a regular 6-month or 1-year assignment. But now we have developed some new approaches. We have now been working on an internship approach that would offer every student an internship opportunity every summer during their college journey. So it's not a 1-year deal. We go to them and we say, you come every summer, you will build on your experience from the previous year, and ideally speaking, when you graduate, you will be thrilled and we'll be thrilled for you to become a permanent employee. We really want to maximize the experience when they come and work for us, and it is just important for us to make sure that by the time they go back to school, they will be better equipped with some real work experience and some knowledge that they will be able to share with their colleagues at the school. A couple of 2 or 3 final slides. This one is about our commitment to rotational development programs. This is not rocket science. Many companies do them, and many companies do them well, and I think that is the key. If you do them well, they always work. Truly, warranty, they always work. We do have many rotational programs in place. Some of them are global in nature, where you will rotate people in different countries, in different functions, in different assignments. And we have some others that are more functional and more geographic in terms of the scope. This chart pretty much tries to reflect our passion for developing people around the world. And we would like to see this in different ways. First of all, I want to bring to your attention that the background of these slides is the map of the world. We want to emphasize the fact that we are a global company and that anyone who's interested in joining Syngenta will have access to information, best practices, and experience on what is happening in agriculture all over the world. So the on-the-job experience would include new assignments, key projects on a global basis, job enrichment or job rotations as I have described. The center of the slide is really important because many companies often underestimate the value of feedback. Feedback is the best avenue for learning. If we don't receive feedback, we will assume that we're doing everything, in the best possible way. We spend a huge amount of time and effort in making sure that our employees receive feedback on an ongoing basis, whether it's through coaching or mentoring or 360-degree feedback tools for their own self-assessment. And finally, and with this I'm closing, we're extremely proud of the resources that we invest in our global and our regional learning academies. You can call them training centers, you can call them virtual training centers in so many ways, but we assess training needs on an ongoing basis, and we not only focus on technical skill as many other companies would, we place a lot of emphasis in leadership, but more important than anything else, in my opinion, and in HR, you cannot blame me for it, is the cultural piece. We want to make sure that our employees understand and value the culture and the ways of working, and we are actually realizing that that is one of the most important retention tools that we have. We may not be paying the best salaries or the best compensation or the best STI, but our culture has become quite an asset for us as a company. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I'd like to add something important that's relevant to this. Syngenta is an example of a truly global company as distinct from a multinational company. Fundamental mindset change. Last, but certainly not least, is Stacy Piniatu from Coca-Cola. I was very intrigued to learn about Stacy. Make sure I have the right one here. There we go. All right. And that her husband proposed to her in the world of Coke, dressed in that polar bear suit.
That is a true story, and how many of you were at the World of Coke last night? So now, so hopefully through our little chat that we're going to have today, you're going to hopefully walk away saying, wow, she really loves that brand and she loves that company for all the reasons that I'm actually technically here to talk to you about. But now you know a little bit more of an insight that my Coke love story began, and it's actually quite a personal one. My husband was actually working at the company, and I guess the way he likes to sum it up is he said, you know, a man in his 40s, when he's going to propose, we're on the late in life marriage plan, he said, when you propose in your 40s, you really got to get it right. And so he knew that he needed to wow me, he did, and somebody said, wow, he's pretty confident to do that in that setting, and I said, you know, indeed he was. And so when people ask me, Peniotu, what's the name Peniotu? And I said, it must be love, because why else would I go from Stacy Valley to Stacy Valley Peniotu if it wasn't? So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to get into my actual role a little bit as we get into our conversation. So let me just first by asking all of you, how many in your life at some point have tasted a Coca-Cola? How about a Diet Coke? How about a Coke Zero? We've got a few more that are cold up there, so if you'd like and you want to go ahead, go grab it. It's up there, one of the two. There's a cold Coke Zero for you. But, and so obviously there's the known and the obvious brands that are quintessential Coca-Cola, and that's our Coke trademark. And last night, if you were at the World of Coke, you were able to, now this is going to be a little bit of a softball. How about some of our other products? Did you know that Simply, so Simply Orange, Minute Maid, Zico Coconut Water, Honest Tea, Odwalla. So when you look across our complete portfolio of over 600 brands, when you start talking globally, we play obviously in those places that are obvious, but what many people don't know is that we play in the not so obvious as well. Now, you guys are amped up on Coke trivia, but I've got a few things, and so somebody, I think it was Alicia, that came in and said, wow, she's really thirsty, and thought that I had all these things. My goal is to leave here with all of that gone. So let me first ask, how many of you know, show of hands, how old is Coca-Cola? 127 years? That just won you a commemorative bottle from our London Olympics. You're absolutely right. And we're going to and 127 years, wow, that's really old. But those of us that get to work for the world's most iconic brand, we don't believe that 127 years is a sign of our age. We believe, quite on the contrary, it's a sign of our youth. We're 127 years young. And I have the privilege and the honor of holding the job, so I run talent development, organization effectiveness, diversity, inclusion for our North America business. I'll talk a little bit about that business segment. And part of my job is helping the company think about how we're going to stay relevant and nimble and flexible, and how we're going to do that with our people, our greatest asset and our biggest differentiator as a company and as a system for the next 127 years. So I've got the best job in the company, I believe. And my hope for all of you is that for those of you that are going to be moving toward that first job, is that as you get into that, you're going to say, I have the best job in the best company. So just a few bits about who we are in North America. Again, Coca-Cola is the second most recognized word across all languages globally. Only second to what word? Sorry.
Hello?
Hello? No?
Yes.
No? No? No?
No.
No? Okay. So it's Coca-Cola, and certainly no arrogance. I come to you with the most, hopefully, humble confidence of being able to be a steward of this brand. But Coca-Cola in North America, it's been a very interesting ride. And Coca-Cola North America makes up, we're sitting at about 70,000 associates. Obviously, we've got seasonal labor because that 70,000 makes up a couple of important units. We are a 68,000 person bottling organization. So in 2010, you might have followed it, maybe you had it as a case study in one of your business classes. The Coca-Cola Company purchased the largest bottler in North America, which was at Coca-Cola Enterprises. Coca-Cola Enterprises is still alive and well, but it's a Western European operating company, still a big bottler and a huge player in Europe, and still our good friends. But the North America business was carved out, and that then led to the largest vertical integration in U.S. business history, that integration of that bottler into the North America business within the Coca-Cola Company. So now you've got the bottler, you've got the power of North America brands, you've got the integration of Odwalla, which I talked about, which really gets into liquid food, very different type of product, package, innovation, and ingredient mix than brand Coke. And then other acquisitions, other bottlers that we are always integrating. So there's some significant complexity, and from a talent perspective, we're not playing to one segment. We're having to appeal to men. And so that means that one size certainly doesn't fit all. I feel very lucky to be part of a global system, however, and that system is over 700,000 people strong when you think across the Coca-Cola Company and its global partners around the world. So if you want to see the world, Coca-Cola is a safe bet. So when we were talking yesterday, we were talking about this session, and a question I had was, so what's the look of success for this session? And what came clear to me, it would be when the students in attendance, so how many of you are students? Okay, and how many are my academic or university partners? So it was look of success was going to be, what are you as a business facing, what am I facing in a business as it relates to talent? The challenges that I'm trying to solve for my business as it relates to getting the right people in the right roles at the right time would be that you all walk away with a little bit of that insight. So that as a student, you know that I'm interested in what you're doing technically, but I'm also looking for your passion. And that there's some other traits that we look for as it relates to our talent strategy. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about. Building a talent strategy, and I think anytime you come to a conference and you have a panel like this and you've got esteemed speakers, so Lauren and Daniel, the good news is that when you walk out of here, you're going to go, that was sort of similar. They said some similar things, and I think that's always a good news story. So I'm going to hit on some of the things that are going to sound very similar, and then I'm going to show you some things, a little flash and sizzle that's quintessential Coke along the way. But I believe firmly that any talent strategy, it certainly has science, but there's also art. And a good talent strategy is both the art and the science. Why the art? Because as far as I'm concerned, as long as there's talent, that means there's people, and that means there's behavior, and that is, no two are alike, much like snowflakes. But in building a world-class talent strategy, we believe that we need to answer a few questions. One is understanding where you've been, capture that learning, and understand how your history needs to be part of your heritage and part of your future. Then you got to kind of take check and say, get really clear on where you are. Say, where am I from a talent perspective? And then ask yourself a very honest question. How is that working for you? And then finally be very clear about the vision that you're creating. And if it's a matter of what got us here won't get us there, like Lauren was talking about, or based on what your business strategy is, figure out where it is you need to go, and then back up from there. So in the spirit of needing to know where you've been, I'll share with you a little bit here. Okay, we were working on the prep. It might have locked up. Did someone in tech come down for a second? Let's see if we can recover. resourceful, maybe do it a different way. It's a video, but it worked on our trial.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing with me.
Singing is loud. And encouraged.
I'd like to buy the world a coat and keep it company. That's the real thing. I'd like to teach the world to sing today. Harmony and unity. And I'd like to buy the world a coat and keep it company. It's the real thing. What the world wants today. It's the real thing. What the world wants today. It's the real thing.
Okay, for another
Back in Italian
fabulous
night,
prize. So for another fabulous prize, who can tell me when Hilltop, which is what that is called, when Hilltop was first launched? What year? Not 72, not 76, not 70, you're getting crazy close. 71, who said 71? All right, you have a choice, either a Give It Back t-shirt or one of these color changing bottles.
I gotta have a give it back.
All right, you got it. All right, that's it. All right, so whoever is the fine winner of this, they do turn off. We've given them before, and we've actually gotten an email from people who said, this thing is psycho, I can't turn off. Actually, students, we give them away when we go on campus. And I said, well, then you clearly didn't have a lava lamp, because why would you ever want to turn that off? But I share Hilltop with you, and you can't be mad at me when you leave later today and you can't get that out of your head, because it will happen, and you'll find yourself humming it and singing it. But as relevant as Hilltop was in 1971, where we pulled people together, and that was such a message in that, right? It was about bringing people together, to today, where our mission is still just as relevant. I work for a company where our mission is to refresh the world. That's very cool. To provide and inspire moments of optimism and happiness, to create value, and to make a difference. Our talent strategy has